Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here is a quick lesson on MLA format for essays. Okay, so MLA, or the Modern Language Association, is a group of individuals that determines the rules for giving credit to original authors within academic works. So they sit around and they determine what it needs to look like, what information needs to be included in order to properly give credit to original authors when their work is being used for academic purposes. No matter where you are studying in the world, MLA format is the same. So you could be studying here or in the States or in China. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. MLA format is always the same. It's universal. Okay, it's important to learn how to do this because if you plan on continuing your education beyond high school, plagiarism is taken very seriously. And in order to avoid being accused of plagiarism, you want to know the proper way to cite your sources or to give credit to others' ideas when you borrow them. There's nothing wrong with borrowing another's ideas when you're writing in an academic setting. However, it is wrong to borrow those ideas without giving proper credit. That's stealing. That's stealing intellectual property, and it's not allowed. It's plagiarism. Okay? So the Modern Language Association has given us sort of a framework to do this properly. Okay, how does this apply to your essay? Well, when you know that when you're writing an analytical essay, you need to back up your thesis or your opinion with quotations from the text. These quotations are your proof. However, you did not write these quotations. You are borrowing these quotations from the text that you are studying. So because of that, you have to indicate that you have borrowed these quotations by citing them in MLA format, which I'm going to explain how to do very shortly. Okay, and just a quick reminder, remember that you have to explain how each of these quotations supports your thesis. That is where the majority of your marks is going to come from. It's not summarizing the text, it's explaining how the quotations support your thesis. Okay, so when citing a source in an essay, basically this is the format you have to follow. So you put the quotation in quotation marks. So the quotation is the word-for-word direct text that you are taking from the text, okay? That is a quotation. Remember that a quotation doesn't necessarily have to be that somebody is speaking. It could be the narration. That is still a quotation, okay? So quotation goes in quotation marks. You do not include the final punctuation. So no period, no exclamation mark, no question mark, nothing, okay? Instead, you go right to a bracket. You put the author's last name, comma, page number, close bracket, then final punctuation. Or if you're citing Shakespeare, you put bracket, Shakespeare, which is the author's last name, comma, act, dot, scene, dot, line in numerical format, okay? Take a look at the examples below, okay? The first example comes from The Outsiders. So we have the quotation here. We are poorer than the socias and the middle class, okay? Do you see how here there's no ending punctuation, okay? But here we have the bracket, author's last name, comma, page number, bracket, then we put the final punctuation, okay? Same thing with Shakespeare. This is from Romeo and Juliet. We have a plague o' both houses, okay? No final punctuation. It's closed quotation, bracket, author's last name, comma, act, dot, scene, dot, line. So this particular quotation comes from Act 3, Scene 1, and it's line 94, okay? And then here we have the final punctuation, which is the exclamation mark. Okay, one thing that you need to remember is that you only need to include the author's last name if the quotation before comes from a different source. So, for example, for your Julius Caesar essay, all of your quotations are coming from the same source. So you do not need to put Shakespeare's last name in every in-text citation, in every bracket, okay? Only the first one. However, for your ISP essay, you're going to be switching between sources. You're going to have one quotation from your original novel source, and then you're going to have another quotation from the other source. So in that case, you have to include the author's last name because you are switching sources back and forth, okay? Also remember that each of your in-text citations, the little part in brackets, corresponds to an entry in your works cited list. Okay, so the little part in brackets with the author's last name and page number, or the author's last name and act, scene, line, that is called your in-text citation. Okay? It's called an in-text citation because it is found within the text of your essay. Okay? Okay, and remember, when you're including an in-text citation, the final punctuation in the quotation comes after the final bracket. Okay? So, here, the exclamation mark doesn't come before, it comes after here. Okay? Now, if your quotation is longer than 4 lines when typed, not handwritten, typed, there are a different set of rules. You can't do an in-text citation. You have to do what's called an offset quotation. Okay? So basically, you're going to stop your essay wherever it is and end with a colon. So what I mean by your essay is the setup to quotation. The little summary that comes before you give your quotation, stop wherever it is in the line, end with a colon. You're going to begin writing your quotation on the next line after indenting. Every line of the quotation is indented. There are no quotation marks around the quotation. You single space the quotation, and you reduce the size of the font from 12 to 10. This is very confusing. I'm going to show you what it looks like very soon, and hopefully that will clarify it for you. Okay, once you've completed writing your quotation, this time you put your final quote punctuation before the bracket, just to really mess you up. So when it's an in-text citation, the final punctuation comes after the bracket. When it's an offset quotation, the final punctuation comes before the bracket. Okay? You conclude with your citation, same as before, author's last name, comma, page number, or author's last name, comma, act, scene, line, depending on the type of source. You continue writing your essay on the next line, go back to double spacing, and increase your font size back to 12. Okay, and continue with the essay as usual. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Here's an example of an offset quotation. Okay, so pretend we're writing this essay on Romeo and Juliet. Okay, so here's my setup to quotation. Mercutio comments on Romeo's inability to fight Tybalt when he says, I'm going to stop my writing right there, colon. Now I'm going to the next line. I've single spaced. Okay, I've indented every line of the quotation. I've given the full quotation here. Here's my final punctuation. Here's my citation. Okay, Shakespeare, comma, Act 2, Scene 4, lines 14 to 19. Okay, then I continue writing my essay as usual right here. Okay, here Mercutio was telling the audience that he doesn't think Romeo will be able to fight Tybalt because he is in love, and then I continue with my analysis with my regular font and formatting. Okay, if you want to avoid all of this, don't include quotations that are longer than 4 lines when typed. Okay, as long as your quotations are 3 lines or less when typed, you do not have to do the offset quotation. You can do the simpler in-text citation. Okay? Okay, so as I said before, each of your citations, the little part in the brackets, corresponds to an entry in your Works Cited page. Okay? The final page of your essay is your Works Cited page. It's also known as a bibliography. Okay? Here you're going to list all the sources that you cited in your in-text and offset quotations. It needs to be a separate page with Works Cited as the title in the center of the page. This page is not numbered. So here's where you're going to list all the sources that you use. For your Julius Caesar essay, you're only going to have one source. I still want you to do a Works Cited page, though, just so you get in the habit of doing it. Okay? For your ISP essay, you're going to have 2 sources. You're going to have your original ISP text, and you're going to have the source that you're comparing that text to. Okay? This is the format for your Works Cited. Okay? If it's a book, and that includes Julius Caesar because it is in a book. Okay? Last name of the author, comma, first name, period. The title is either underlined or italicized. Then you have the city of publication, colon, publisher, comma, date, period. Okay? If it's an article in a short story or in a book, follow this format. If you're using a website, follow this format. I will also come and see me if you're using a video. I can give you the format for that as well for the ISP essay. For Julius Caesar, though, really all you have to worry about is this one here. Okay? Okay, some things to note about your Works Cited. Your Works Cited goes in alphabetical order by last name. If your entry is more than 1 line, the second and following lines of the entry are indented. And you only need to include the information that is provided to you. So, for example, if you're using a website and there's no author, you don't need to include the name of the author. You just go to the name of the website. You can only give us information that you are provided. Okay. So on top of all of these rules for citations and works cited, the MLA has also come up with some rules for the overall formatting of your essay. You need to follow these rules when you're word publishing, okay? So your essay is written in either 12-point Times New Roman or 10-point Arial font only. Those are the only two fonts that are acceptable, okay? Every page except for the first page is numbered with your last name on each page, okay? So you put your last name, then the page number, okay? You also need to double space. I didn't write that on there, but your essay has to be double spaced, okay? At the top left-hand corner of the first page of your essay, you're going to include the following information: your name, our course code, my name, and the date, okay? Those 4 pieces of information in the top left-hand corner of the first page of your essay, okay? Do not give me a title page. It is a waste of paper, okay? MLA format says no title page, just those 4 pieces of information in the top left-hand corner. The title of your essay follows in the center of the page, and you start writing your essay right below that, okay? So it's all on the same page. The same page. The title is also in either 12-point Times New Roman or 10-point Arial. It should be the same font as the rest of your essay. Nothing fancy. Okay, and as I said before, your essay needs to be double-spaced. The only place where your essay is not double-spaced is for your offset quotations. Those are single-spaced. Okay, overall, I know that this stuff is very confusing. It does get easier the more you practice using it. Okay, if you do not follow this format, you will lose marks on your essay. You need to learn how to do this. It's important that you learn how to do this now so that you're not so shocked when you go to grade 11 and 12 English in high school and when you go to post-secondary. And if you're stuck or if you need help, please just ask, okay? So that's all. Don't get overwhelmed by all of this. Watch this video as many times as you need. And if you need help, you can always come and ask, okay? So good luck, everyone.